Allow me to introduce myself. Who knows what dastardly crime he might perpetrate next? He's a very clever arch criminal who must be put away. Another innocent.
See this fun time, this love train.
Get this love train
Get this love train rolling in our very first inaugural episode.
Yes.
The movie.
Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about what we like about games, what we look for in games, and what our favorite games are.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of get a... Just kind of like
so you know who we are.
Yeah, just kind of like where we come from when it comes to, I guess, opinions and just how we feel about certain games and aspects of games, design choices, etc.
Yeah,
all that fun stuff.
These are things and ideas that will be repeated throughout different conversational topics. So I mean, it's there's a lot of stuff here that we very much hold very close to our hearts, I think. And that will come up every once in a while just to sort of justify how we feel about a certain subject. But I think laying it out all out on the table for the first part would probably be a good idea. So
yeah,
that's
for
what we
sure.
decided to do.
I am Jordan, and I'm joined by the sexy Justin.
That's me. That is me. That's my name. And sexy is part of it. It's on my birth certificate.
There we go. Got the proof.
Yeah, it's right there.
All right, so I'm gonna break down the wall right now.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say, to start things off, we should just seriously just say our favorite game.
Okay.
Just number one.
Number one.
Just boom.
Favorite game of all time.
For me, it is BioShock. The first one. The very first BioShock. Yeah, came out in 2006.
Uh-huh.
So that's 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember saying that around like this game has been my favorite since like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
That's how long this game's been my favorite. I kind of felt bad because I know a lot of people tend to pick their favorite video game as like a classic one, like an old one, like Nintendo 64, or just somewhere in the earlier era. But I was like, man, I kind of feel weird that my favorite video game is an Xbox 360 game.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the demo when the demo first came out on the 360. I was like, okay, this game looks sick. I was like, all right, this game looks awesome.
Yeah.
So I played the demo and I beat it. And then next thing I know, I checked my phone and 2 hours went by and I've beaten the demo 10 times. Wow. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I sat and played that demo over and over and over again. So when I got off of school, I came home and my dad, super cool, just bought it for me. He just bought it for me. And ever since then, that game has been my all-time favorite. I won't get into specifics, we'll save that for later, but it's just that game is my favorite game of all time. I couldn't begin to describe to you how many times I've beaten that game. I think it's been 30 plus times. I've done speed runs of the game, sadly not on PC. On console, my record's like an hour, 13 minutes.
Yeah.
So like speed running it and not speeding running it, this game, my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Done.
Cool. Good story. And yeah, BioShock 1 is definitely an impressive game. It took me a long time to get around to playing it.
Yeah.
That was part of
you telling me about that.
Yeah, it was part of it was one of the games that I bought on a whim because I knew that you liked it and I knew that it was a popular game. I was like, I should probably play this. And it was when I was going through all my Xbox 360 games and trying to beat them all in alphabetical order.
Yes, I remember that.
Naturally, B fell pretty high on the list. So BioShock 1 and 2 were both.
It was like Bayonetta, BioShock 1, BioShock 2.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I really enjoyed it because it was definitely surprising how good the acting was.
Yeah,
that really surprised me.
That's one thing that's really impressive about that game is like when you can truly get a character like 100% developed. Like they don't feel like a robot.
Yeah.
Or it actually feels like it's a genuine human being that you're communicating with, and not just a voice actor behind
exactly.
like in a studio.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing. I have to stop smacking my leg.
It's
fuck, man.
Bam. So excited about the pain I feel. I really like BioShock 1 as well. It's not my favorite game, naturally.
Right.
It is a really good game, and having gone back and beat it, I like most first-person shooters, I think it works better on the PC. Besides the fact that I encountered a strange glitch from the first game, where on the PC version, on the Steam version specifically, this is apparently somewhat common, where when you launch it, the first chapter will have no audio, unless anything at all is plugged into the microphone jack on your computer. Anything. Doesn't even have to be a microphone. I plugged it on auxiliary cord into that thing and it worked. I have no idea why.
Wait, do you just plug it in and take it out?
No, you plug it in and leave it. If it's not in there, it won't work. but if it's in there, the audio will play. And through the speakers too. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't
0 out of 10. That game's no longer my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
New favorite game, Viva Pinata. Let me explain.
Oh, okay, all right.
Best game.
Yep.
In all seriousness, I fucking love Viva Pinata. I love that game.
I have never played Viva Pinata. It's been on my list of games I want to play, but isn't it 360 exclusive?
It's 360, but they came out with it on the Rare Replay for Xbox One. Both Viva Pinata and Trouble in Paradise, the sequel, but I think the first one's better.
Right.
But
anyway, to digress.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. That's cool. Cool. Good times. Good times. I agree. So my favorite game of all time, and those of you who actually already know me and know us. If you thought you already knew what Jordan's answer was going to be, you know 100 times what my answer because I literally never stopped talking about it. My favorite game is the original Doom from 1993. This game, I'm one of those shitters Jordan was just talking about whose favorite game is an older game. And I will admit it is wrapped in nostalgia somewhat. So my story for this game is when I was young, when I was probably 4 or something like that, our parents got my brother and I Game Boy Colors, the atomic purple ones because they're cool.
I had the teal.
The teal
Game Boy
ones.
Color. I love that one. Yeah.
I always have a special place in my heart for dumb transparent
cases
on game consoles.
Like the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, oh my god, I always like
that clear purple one.
Oh jeez. So they got us Game Boy Colors, and those were kind of the first introduction I had to non-educational video games.
Okay.
Because my dad had bought a console not a lot of people have heard of, the Panasonic 3DO. And you remember this because it had, for a long time, the definitive home version of Street Fighter 2. It was also some people may not know the console version of Myst was on that. The game Gex was originally exclusive to that console.
That I didn't know.
Yeah,
I had it for the PS1.
It came out for the PS1 after it came out for the 3DO.
That's nuts.
Once Crystal Dynamics realized this is a terrible console, no one's buying it. We need to jump ship.
How much wasn't that a lot of money?
It was. The original 3DO I think was $699 in 1996 or whatever when it came out. Yeah, it was atrocious. But it was supposed to be like a big educational platform, so my dad bought it. He's like, oh, they like games, they like learning, etc. So he bought the 3DO, and he only let us play educational and very light level games on it. And so I played those sometimes. Then I got the Game Boy Color. They got us Pokemon Yellow and Super Mario Land. Both great games.
Gold.
Love them.
Yeah.
And I love those, and it kind of started to kindle my interest in video games as a hobby as opposed to just a distraction.
Right.
So one day I remember my dad, he could tell that I picked up the video game thing more than my brother did. So he sat me down and he had a very lengthy discussion with me about the nature of the difference between fantasy and reality.
That sounds exactly like your dad.
Here,
let me sit down with you, break everything down logically.
Exactly.
And which is definitely something I can respect.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Justin's dad.
Shout outs to my dad for being there. And because the late 90s was just after Mortal Kombat 1 had dropped a few years earlier, and it had there was
controversy
of violence in video games.
The SRB.
So, yeah, exactly. And so my dad was like, okay, I need to make sure that he understands that this is just a game, and that's all it is.
That's important.
He's not going to go try shooting up the school.
Yeah.
And so he sat me down for 30 minutes. We talked about it, and he's like, so with that in mind, there's a game I want to show you. And so I was like, all right. He booted up, and thank God I was so young and didn't know the difference. He booted up probably the second or third worst port of Doom to ever exist, the 3DO version of Doom, which, no joke, if you ran it at the full default screen size, would not run at full speed. You had to shrink it down for it to run.
You had to purposely shrink it down. Oh my God.
It was bad, but I didn't know any better. I was 8 years old.
Yeah, you didn't care.
And so he put in this game, and I was my eyes lit up. I was like, this is incredible. I was enamored immediately with this big, bright, violent display. And I remember it being the trademark, the flagship moment in my life where I first decided this whole video game thing, it's pretty tight.
So sick.
It's sick AF. I put on my hat backwards, flat brim hat, drank some Monster Energy.
Yes.
I was like, fuck yeah, son.
Let's
my dad's
go.
You're 8, stop that.
Grounded, disowned.
I'm gonna cut off finger. And so I grabbed that knockoff Genesis controller the 3DO had, and I played that game for hours. Mm-hmm. I never got very far because I was bad at video games. But it just really struck a chord in my mind, and I know, like just like with you, we'll get into this a little bit later, the specifics. Mm-hmm. About what the things about it I like so much, why I will defend it to my dying day as one of the greatest games ever made.
Right.
But I remember it being like the most fun I'd ever had with a game. Like playing Super Mario Land and Pokemon Yellow was fun for me because it was like, oh, interesting, the music's fun, the visuals are cool.
Yeah.
But this game really challenged my reflexes.
It had more of an engaging.
It was very engaging.
Yeah, it really asked you to use every aspect of your mind, your reactions, your control.
Yeah, exactly.
So it really pushed to the limits, especially at that age.
And one thing I can say about, because I'm not going to talk about the 3DO version of Doom very much past this, but the one thing that I can say about it is that it had the best soundtrack, because they actually redid the soundtrack in like an 80s metal kind of style.
That's so cool.
I mean, if anyone is listening, if you're listening and you're interested, you should look that shit up because it's really good. But yeah, so the entire experience.
And that's 3DO specific. That soundtrack.
Yeah, because it was the only one that had it. That had that specific rendition of it. Everything else either had ports of the MIDI original or had like significantly worse versions of it.
Right.
Like
that's pretty cool.
Like the actual worst port to Doom was the SNES version. And
okay.
I don't remember if that one. There was one port I think that didn't even have music. I can't remember. But anyway, so
like Doom 64.
Like Doom. Yeah, Doom 64 went more the ambient style. But,
yeah.
But I will say that in my in kind of reflection, I will say I have more respect for Doom 64. It's not my kind of game, but I think,
yeah. Didn't you say it was like too slow paced?
It was too. It was kind of.
They really they took it from. Like, could you compare Doom 64 let's compare the original Doom to the newest 2016 Doom.
The 40 form.
Yes.
Yes.
Compare those two.
Yeah.
And then compare Doom 64 to Doom 3.
Well, I would
just the more like how Doom 64 and Doom 3 are more slower paced horror.
Yeah.
While the original Doom and the new 2016 Doom are more way fast paced and more actiony, arcadey.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I think the short answer to that is yes. That is an apt comparison. Doom 3 missed a lot of its marks. Doom 3 didn't really know. It didn't seem to know what it wanted to be, and it kind of faltered. Whereas I think Doom 64 went full on for the horror aspect. And if you go back and you play Doom 64, it was pretty creepy.
Right.
Because I mean, part of that is because the uncanny valley nature of it, and then 64 rendering 3D environments. But it was definitely scarier in an ambient sort of way as opposed to Doom 3's monster closets, the occasional jump scare, and the forced audio log system that was then later on much, much better implemented in Dead Space.
Right.
But, so if you want a good example of how it can work versus how it doesn't, Doom 3, it didn't work, but Dead Space it did.
Okay.
But Doom 64, I think, was better at being its own product as opposed to Doom 3 just trying to be... It was trying to be kind of a modern shooter while not being a modern shooter. It seems to kind of falter. I definitely say Doom 64 is a better game than Doom 3 overall.
Of what it was trying to go for.
Yes.
Okay.
The biggest bullet in the kneecap to Doom 64 was that it was a first-person shooter on the N64, which, as for people who've ever played GoldenEye, that was the worst console to play.
GoldenEye, Perfect Dark.
Oh, Jesus Christ! It's a chore.
No, it really is.
But yeah. So to kind of digress, that's the Doom. The original Doom is my favorite game of all time, and I've beaten it countless times. I can't even begin to count.
I will honestly say that I have played Doom and Doom 2 on multiple occasions and never ever beat either of them.
That's not. I mean, Doom 2 in particular, because Doom 2's leveled it. So Doom 2 came after Doom 1 became popular for deathmatch, and so the level designers that did software at the time were like, we need to make these maps more deathmatch friendly, and so they had a bunch of really wide open and confusing maps, and it made it hard to want to play through like anything past map 10 in Doom 2.
Oh, wow.
Because they're all very wide. They kind of feel like they're kind of chores.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons why I don't like Doom 2 as much as I like Doom. But still a great game, worth beating once. But
of course.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't blame you for that, especially because it's kind of misleading to people who don't already know the history. But Doom 1, the modern versions of it have a fourth episode called "Thy Flesh Consumed," which wasn't even made by id Software on their own. Mm-hmm. It was made by I think either by them in conjunction with fans or just by fans. to be harder and much more difficult than the original 3 episodes.
Okay.
So like that's a stopping point for a lot of people because the difficulty ramps way the fuck up when you get to Die Flesh Consumed. So
yikes.
But yeah, that's my favorite game of all time.
All right.
So,
Awesome.
Moving right along. We're at a healthy 15 minutes right now. So
Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to BioShock, like as the series as a whole, just to kind of break it down, BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite were created by, I'm actually forgetting his name.
Ken Levine.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Where BioShock 2 was made by Thomas Jennings.
Oh.
And Thomas Jennings was the lead creator of the level, my favorite level in BioShock 1, Fort Frolic.
Oh, okay.
So he was the head designer of that entire level. And so with BioShock 2, without Ken Levine, the original creator, I found that out like a month before the game was going to come out.
Oh, okay.
I was like, whoa. I'm like, okay, BioShock 2 without the creator. I'm like, okay, so this is like a weird... It's like a weird side project, whatever. And so I was worried. I was like, okay. So we got a level, we got a level designer heading BioShock 2, and now BioShock 2 it's technically it's non-canonical in a way because it
feels like a side story that doesn't need to be in the BioShock.
Yeah,
canon. Like it can be, and it doesn't really affect.
Right, because it takes place like 10 years after the first one.
Yeah.
So when it came out, I remember I got it and I played it, I beat it, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It surprised me. It was really, really good. But one problem that I had with it was you being a big daddy, you actually didn't feel like a big daddy. You still felt like really squishy and would die really fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel too like hulking. And that was the one downside, and like the characters were still good, but they weren't as likable. It was basically, to me, everything kind of fell a little short comparative to the first one. Like barely though. I'm talking like barely. Like the story just kind of like under the the enemy design, like all the spider splicers looked exactly the same.
Right.
So that fell under. The level design was still really good though, and the part where you're the little sister.
Oh my God.
That was probably one of, if not the best moment in the entire BioShock series.
I was just about to say that BioShock 2, for all its failings, had the best moment, which was the little sister. That was just incredible.
Oh my God, it was genius.
It was really
so
well
good.
Yeah.
Like when you find like the angels and they're like lying down and they're with their arms crossed with the wings on the floor, then as soon as you put the needle in, all of like the fantasy reality comes back and the horror that you're witnessing, and that part was genius. I thought that was absolute genius. And so as a whole, the BioShock series, I guess what I like the most is I like the creative worlds. I thoroughly enjoy the universe it takes place in. I love it. I absolutely love it. The characters seem so real. I love the characters. I love the dialogue. Everything about it is so real. And one thing I appreciate about BioShock Infinite is that they incorporated the main protagonist to talk. Yeah. Unlike the first two. So I thought that added more depth on top of the depth that the game series already had. So I guess just in short, when it comes to the BioShock series, what really hooked me the most is not only is the gameplay really solid, it might not be the best first-person shooter gameplay out there, but the gameplay is very good. But when it comes to the universe, the story, it all works, and there's like no cutscenes. It's all in game, so you are always in the game all the time. Yeah. No breaks. Always in the game. They did not take the time, like Metal Gear Solid 5, where it's a movie.
An incomplete movie.
Right. I love the decision of just games in general, but specifically BioShock, is when you have a game that decides, look, you're playing a video game, I don't want you to stop playing this video game. Yeah. I want you to keep playing it. So we're not going to take you out of it. There's going to be dialogue, there's going to be slower points in time, but you are still always in game. Yeah. And that's one thing I highly respect. They made an absolute phenomenal game with the first one. The first one is by far the best, hands down. Yep. Hands down. Yep. With it, with how absolutely incredible that story is. I can't begin to describe how much that I couldn't, like, the twists. For people that haven't played it, it's from 2006.
What the fuck are you doing?
Please play it, but I will do a spoiler alert right now.
Okay. Spoilers for BioShock 1's ending.
Spoiler for BioShock 1. Starting now. When you found out that you were being controlled, that you were literally a puppet.
Yeah.
And when it does the flashbacks of all the would you kindly.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I know.
Thinking about it.
It's great.
Like, I sat there, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
When it was just saying, like, you know, like, would you kindly was flashing back to all the would you kindlys that Atlas said. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, like, comprehend, like, what just happened and how my mind was blown.
Yeah.
It blew my mind.
Even though I had played it significantly after the hype had died down for BioShock 1, I still didn't know how it ended. I didn't know anything about the twist. So I remember when I got there, I felt the same way. I was like, "Holy shit!" I didn't. Oh my god! Like the only thing I had was like this inkling feeling that Atlas was a bad guy, but I didn't really know.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'll see where this goes. And that's what they call. Well, I don't know if they call it that, but that's what I've seen it called. What's called a brick moment, which is it's a reference to like an old style of joke where there would be, or like a scene where in one act there would be like a brick falls off a building and nothing's made of it until much, much later a character's hitting on the head with that brick. It's like a callback to something that happened earlier when it's finished. You're like, oh shit, I remember that, or oh my god, I didn't realize that was important until now. And like I'm playing Persona 5 right now, and I just had, there was one in that really I loved. And BioShock 1's brick moment was like, oh god, it was beautiful. Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't know what to think, and then like when you drop down and you see that wall of like "Would you kindly" written in like blood with all like the connections, and then when you pick up that audio diary with Dr. Sue Chong, you know, talking about that puppy, like oh, that's a cute puppy. Oh, thank you, Dr. Sue Chong, and he just goes break that puppy's neck. Yeah, and I was like, wait, oh no, what? And then the woman starts crying, and he goes break that puppy's sweet neck. Would you kindly? And then you just hear the puppy die. I was like, what is happening? I was like, what is happening to this game right now? And then just all the callbacks, and I never felt like a game has yet to do what BioShock 1 has done to me yet. At all. It's rare to see writing that consistent in a game. Yeah. And I really loved it. And I will say one of the failings of BioShock 1 though is that everything after that point was kind of a chore. It was. You know what? I can agree a little bit. Yeah. Like after that moment when you more spoilers for BioShock. We're gonna keep this whole spoiler section for BioShock 1. Yeah, of course. I think everyone who's wanted to play it has already played it though. Right, yeah. When you kill Andrew Ryan with the golf club, I mean that's a real statement. Like that's a true statement right there. Yeah, that was a very conflicting moment. Yeah, and just knowing that you were powerless. But everything after it did kind of become a chore, like, hunt down the BioShock. The BioShock. Hunt down the BioShock. Yeah, hunt them down. Buy them all. Get them all. When you had to hunt down all the Big Daddy pieces, and then you had to do that mini escort mission. It did become a little bit of a chore. It did. I can completely agree. Yeah. But the game itself was still absolutely phenomenal. It blows my mind with the game with such good, like just gameplay, atmosphere, voice acting, character development, and story all combined into one, and all of them done really, really, really well. Yeah. It becomes almost like this perfect package. And when it comes to video games, I do prefer more of a story, but I mean, I do enjoy my multiplayer games as well. Like sometimes I don't need a story, like like Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, all that stuff. Like I'll play those games. I love them. But what I really, really look forward to in a game is if it can captivate me, if it can make me feel kind of also like The Last of Us, how that game literally just goes straight for your heart. Yeah. In like the first 10 minutes. So I've heard. I still have to play that. But I'll get to it eventually. I won't go too in depth with like BioShock Infinite and BioShock 2. Yeah. I love both of those games. They definitely do have their faults. Wait a minute, that card. Ding, 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 ding. That was the hardest puzzle in any game. That was like all of Portal in one
Both
moment.
of them.
Both of them stacked together. Yeah, no, I since we'll probably eventually talk about it. We'll have to.
Yeah, we'll talk more about our franchise because it's like.
I mean, specifically, I have a lot of negative things to say about BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say I did not like BioShock Infinite.
Okay.
We can talk about it later.
Yeah, of course. This isn't the time to talk about.
Yeah, this isn't
like,
the time to shit on your favorite game series.
Right.
It's actually a good. What we were saying a little bit a minute ago is a good transition into just the general what we look for in games. So you're looking for something more engaging story-wise.
A little more engaging, yeah. I like to be engaged. Like, I don't want a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want my video game to be a movie. That's why I don't hate the Telltale games, but they're just, like, they're not my thing. Like, I would rather be actually playing the game itself than rather having an interactive story. I don't doubt that they're good. Like,
yeah.
They probably are extremely good. But I want something with really good gameplay. And something that engages me, that drives me to continue. And like that's why like when I look at Destiny and The Division, where granted pretty solid gameplay, I didn't feel captivated necessarily. Even though I personally I like The Division more than Destiny. I know that's not too popular of an opinion. I prefer the gameplay of The Division. But neither one of them had really good captivating stories, and that to me kind of lacked. And I still played The Division and beat it. I didn't bother with Destiny. I didn't like it too much.
Yeah.
But that was just an aspect of the game that just kind of missed out. So that's why I love The Last of Us. I love Uncharted. I love BioShock. Really good games that have really good gameplay, but that can also captivate me.
Yeah.
So I'm a feelsy guy. I like to feel. I love to feel.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I can dig that, and though I appreciate it when a game can effectively make you feel, that has that engagement emotionally, story-wise, I like that. For me, my priority has always been exclusively gameplay.
Okay.
Like, the other elements of a video game can make it better, and there are a lot of games that I really like despite their gameplay. Like, for instance, I really enjoy Alan Wake, despite the fact that I think that the gameplay is really grating. And it's I love Alan Wake. I loved Alan Wake too, because the atmosphere was so good that they set it up really well. So I will admit there are a lot of instances where a game's other features will engage me, will capture my heart.
That's also an extremely underrated game. I feel that is a gem. That is a true gem of a game that just completely fell under the radar.
It really did.
And so, just as a disclaimer for people that have never heard of Alan Wake, look it up. If you have heard of it and never played it, please give that game a try.
You also keep in mind you have to either buy a used digital copy or pirate it if you're on PC, because the digital versions were taken down and
due to music
copyrights. Yeah. Which is becoming a bigger unseen problem that we haven't. Our unforeseen problem that we haven't really that a lot of people don't talk about. Yeah, is that now with digital updates that can happen where a game can be recalled from the stores.
Yeah.
Like or altered, like GTA San Andreas. A lot of their music tracks, their copyrights lapsed, and so the Steam version of San Andreas doesn't have all the original songs and radio.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's weird, but anyway, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alan Wake was a definitely underrated game, I think.
Yeah.
I would say that it kind of comes from. I mean, Remedy are used to that. The people who made it. Yeah. They also made Max Payne. And Quantum Break. So
which Quantum Break was paired with a free copy for it was an Xbox One exclusive, I believe.
Think so. It's on PC too. I think.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Okay, I know that it came with a digital download copy of Alan Wake with all of its DLC.
Yeah.
You bought the game brand new.
Yeah, it's cool.
So. Quantum Break is probably really cheap because it didn't do that good. So honestly, if you find Quantum Break for $20, Alan Wake and all of its DLC is 150% worth the $20.
Exactly.
Throw Quantum Break away, give it to a friend, donate it Goodwill, anything.
anything at all. You say you don't like sitting down in a game and having it show you a TV show. Well, Quantum Break. Anyway, so but yeah, so for me, it's always been gameplay first.
Yes.
If a game has literally nothing else but gameplay, I'll still really like it.
Right.
Probably a good example, a recent example for me of a game like that is Cluster Truck, which is a first-person platformer, which I believe is PC exclusive. I can't remember. It's a little indie game.
Okay.
And the basic concept is you start on. There's a line of trucks, semi-trucks, that are all running, like, racing toward one destination. You have to jump from one to the other and avoid obstacles. Just jumping from truck to truck. If you fall off a truck, you fail. You have to restart. Yeah. And it's really dumb just talking about it. But it's really fun because the gameplay is very fast. There are a lot of little, like, power-ups and stuff you can get that make it really a lot more fun to play. And the levels are designed well enough that it feels different every time you go to a new world. And so literally nothing else about that game is impressive. There is no writing. The art is very basic. I don't even remember if there was music. So I think there was. But if there was, it's not enough to be memorable.
Right.
So that's a good example where I'll play a game and I'll be like, this is fun to play. That's good enough. When it comes to games, that is my first criticism. If the gameplay isn't good, for the most part, I don't think it can be a good game.
Okay.
Which a lot of people would probably disagree with, but I'm very staunch and very, very conservative about this.
Right. You look at the core of the game. A video game is a game that you play.
Exactly.
If the game doesn't play well, then it's not a game.
Yes, it failed to it failed to accomplish the goal it set out to achieve by not being fun. If it's not fun to play, it's a bad game.
Okay.
Period. It can have other things going for it. It can have, like, I think actually Destiny is a pretty good example. A lot of it was pretty well made. It's just not fun. It's just a boring game. So to me, that, and it's one of those, I try not to look at the outside influences of a game when I play it. I try to kind of separate it.
Okay.
It's not fair to judge a game based on its outside influences, I don't think, for the most part. But whenever I think about Destiny, the first thing I think is $500 million. That's a fucking joke.
Jeez.
GTA 5 was made on like 1/5 of that budget. It's crazy how
and how much better of a game GTA 5 is.
Yeah, I mean, GTA 5, I've got a lot of criticisms of GTA 5 as well, but it's definitely a better game than Destiny was. I kind of throw Destiny in the garbage.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
Oh god. But yeah, so gameplay first. That's why I've like a lot of old arcade games is because it's just gameplay. It had to be.
Right.
Why I like a lot of classic games is because they
like
seem
Galaga.
simple. Like Galaga.
That is one thing I can 100% agree with you on. That Galaga is one of the best like classic games of all time.
It's so simple, but it's so engaging.
I love Galaga.
Yeah, me too.
Galaga is fantastic.
I actually have a digital copy of Galaga on my PS4. And almost every time before I play Persona 5, I play a round of Galaga.
You play a little round of Galaga?
Yeah, it kind of gets my brain going. It gets me.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love arcade games in general, and Galaga is one of them. And I don't know, I get kind of nostalgic about the sort of the way those games were written, where it's like if there is a story, it's some over the top '80s action bullshit.
kind of like what they did with like Far Cry Blood Dragon.
Yeah, exactly.
Genius, by the way. Genius.
Yeah, that was one of the best things they could have done with that.
Like I don't know what specific team of Ubisoft works on the Far Cry games, but keep them. Hold on to them because they actually do a good job.
Yeah, they do.
They do a good job.
I've only played Far Cry 1 and 2 for any big amount of time. I played a little bit of 3.
Okay.
But not a lot. But from what I can see, it seems like a pretty solid series. I'm not really like gonna pursue it.
Yeah.
But
it's a great series.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But okay, so we've established what we look for in Nvidia. Mine's like a combination of like the gameplay and engagement. Because I kind of feel like, you know, a video game with especially the expectations nowadays, I feel as if they should be able to like do something to like really kind of like engage, engage you in, like make you kind of invested in it, make you want to be invested in it.
Yeah.
That's what, like, honestly, that's why I kind of have a hard time with the Dark Souls games, because literally Dark Souls 3, you get a quick cutscene, you're like, oh man, look at all these scary demons and
souls
and monsters and souls, and then boom, you're just in the world, and I'm like, what? Like, okay, do I go this way? And you just go. And I can respect them for that. I can respect the game for just like, all right, you know, we're gonna set out, make this game hard as hell, and we're gonna drop you in, and you're just gonna go.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna keep going, and you can go this way, this way, this way. if you go down this direction, you're going to find enemies that'll kill you in one hit, but if you go this way, you can live and progress. It's a super interesting idea, but it does lack that, like, I don't feel engaged with it. And like, I recently just played Dark Souls 3 for like 3.5 hours straight. That is the longest I've ever played any Dark Souls game for a consistent amount of time.
Okay.
And I liked it. I had fun. It was frustrating, yes, but I had fun. This is coming from like a fresh Dark Souls player. I never was too big into the games. And as much as fun as I had with it, I was like, does any of this mean anything? Am I just like running around killing people just for the sake of this game is hard?
Yeah.
Therefore, it's different. And therefore, it's special because this game is extra hard. Or am I working towards something? Because personally for me, I could be missing something. I'll take that. I could be missing something. But it feels like I'm just playing this game and doing the things in this game just for the sake that the Dark Souls series is a hard game. That's it.
I don't know enough about it. Like, I've never played a Souls game. I think the only game I've ever played by FromSoft was Armored Core, which I liked.
Okay.
But I've never played a Souls game, and so, but what I've heard people talking about how, like, the more the design goes toward, look, let's make this as hard as possible, the less interesting the game becomes. I don't know where Dark Souls 3 falls on that spectrum. I know most people will say that Dark Souls 1 was probably the most solid example of a game that didn't prioritize the difficulty over the atmosphere and the tight game, or not in tight gameplay, but the solid gameplay.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I can say that I actually like it when a game just kind of drops you in and says go.
Okay.
I like it when you're kind of told to figure it out for yourself. It's one thing, I don't like the Elder Scrolls series just as a whole.
Okay.
But one thing I liked about Morrowind was the fact that it doesn't hold your hand. It's just kind of like, you were just dropped off in this town, go talk to people, figure out what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. And then you get to the combat and you're like, this is fucking garbage. But, you know.
This feels awful.
It feels like I'm actually just hitting a sponge. Like, it just...
I don't know what they thought. I don't know what they thought.
And then they kind of like switched it with Oblivion, where it's like it was hand-holding and the story was kind of boring, but... 30, that's right.
Okay, yeah, we're about 30 minutes. Okay. You want to, like, wrap it up at around 40 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, yeah, the reason why I talked about Dark Souls, like I said, it was just another example of how I feel about games.
Yeah.
Certain games, I feel as if they do just drop you off, it does kind of work. Like, that's kind of what I like about Hitman, like, the Hitman series.
Yeah.
It is literally, like, okay, you have to kill this target. Boom, here's the level. Go. Do whatever you feel is necessary or whatever you feel you need to do to kill them. Do you just want to run up and shoot them and run away and see if you can make it? Sure. If you want to be like super sneaky, go for it. Like, I do appreciate that, but that's like the point of those games. Like, like they've established like that's what it is. You're a hitman.
Stealth.
That's what a hitman does. It's a stealth game.
Yeah.
But like I said, how I feel about Dark Souls, it feels as if it's just play this game because it's hard.
Yeah.
Play it because it's difficult.
It definitely has become its reputation.
Yeah, which, I mean, good for it. I mean, there's a lot of games nowadays that I feel is just... Perfect example is the newest Pokemon game, Pokemon Sun and Moon. You remember playing Pokemon Blue?
Yeah. And,
Red, Yellow, Soul, like, Silver.
Oh, yeah.
Gold, all that good stuff.
Crystal for me.
Crystal.
I was
Crystal.
Crystal's
where you would actually get stuck.
Yeah.
And you would, like, lose multiple times. And I'm telling you, man, this new Pokemon game, I've never met... He's a human being. I've never played. It's a real person. I never played a Pokemon game that held my hand and was so restricted. Every time I entered a new town, I was like, okay, I could go this way, this way, and this way. I'm like, which way do I want to go? I would go one way, blocked. Oh, sorry, you can't go here. We're doing something. I'd go the other way. Oh, sorry, blocked. Guess what I had to do? Go the one way. That game was so hand-holding, and it was so linear. The one thing I will give it, the story was a little more intense than most because it it dealt with child neglect, where the parent was just a piece of garbage, and completely neglected her children and treated them like garbage. So you never heard about that in a Pokemon game.
Yeah, it's kind of new.
Yeah, it's kind of new, but that didn't save it from the baby game that I played.
Yeah.
It should have been called like Wimpy Kitty Baby Whiner Pokemon. It was the easiest, most simple, hand-holdy, linear Pokemon game I've ever played in my life.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard as much, and I generally don't really like Pokemon games as a whole, but I remember thinking like, yeah, I'm glad I'm kind of avoiding it because I feel like I'd be really disappointed by that. Not that Pokemon was ever extremely challenging, but right. I think that Nintendo have been kind of like relying too much on the whole hand-holdy thing. With a lot of their newer games do that, where there's a lot of easy outs. I remember for a while they were talking about a system for the new Super Mario Bros. Series where you could elect to have it beat a level for you.
Oh God.
I don't know if they ever implement that in any fashion, but I remember hearing about that and thinking that's just kind of weird.
Okay.
Kind of dumb. But I remember playing Fire Red and thinking it was kind of strange that at any time you could hit the L or R button and it would tell you what to do.
I remember that.
And I was just like, this kind of, for me, it kind of undermines the point of the whole adventure feel.
Yeah.
Where you're supposed to feel like you don't really know exactly where you're going or what you're doing. You're kind of figuring
out
as you go away.
Yeah. They took that out of Sun and Moon. I didn't feel like I could freely explore the world. I felt like I had to go on this story path first. Mm-hmm. Then I could backtrack and do stuff. Yeah. And it just kind of bummed me out. I was like, dude, this ain't the Pokemon I know and love.
Where'd you go, man?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
So we're getting to the end of this episode. I feel as if that we were able to not only discuss the things that we wanted to talk about, but also kind of get get a little more in depth of a bunch of other random games from a bunch of many different genres, old and new, and voiced our opinions and talked about how we felt. Yeah. Like, we went from third-person RPGs, first-person shooters, classic games, new games, handheld games. Like, we went everywhere and voiced opinions on all of them, so there's I think we have a good general consensus of how we feel about games and what makes us mad, what makes us happy. Yeah, pretty much. I think the last thing I want to bring up real quick is, what is your favorite genre of video game?
That's pretty tough.
For me it's super easy. I already know that you know it. My favorite genre of video games. Spoilers. It wants to come out really bad. Yeah. It's fighting games.
Oh my God.
I absolutely love fighting games. Every single fighting game I love. I love fighting games.
Do you love fighting games though?
No.
Okay, yeah, I don't blame you. They're garbage.
No, I love fighting games ranging from I love Mortal Kombat, Injustice, Soul Calibur, Tekken, Street Fighter. Blow people's mind. I think it's just okay. I've never been too crazy about Street Fighter. I think it's just okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
You just hate Capcom.
Yeah. No, I like Capcom. And King of Fighters, Blaze Blue is pretty fun. Guilty Gear. I love all fighting games. I love playing them. Okay. There's only very few that I take very seriously on a competitive level. That would be Injustice, Killer Instinct, and Tekken. Mm-hmm. Those would be the games that I would take on a more serious level. But anime fighters, I love to play them for fun. Yeah. They're really fun games to play. I know that it would take a lot of time for me to get good at them, so I kind of mainly focus on the ones I already know that I'm good at. Yeah. But yeah, fighting games, love them, love everything about them.
Awesome.
Justin. Yes.
I think that my favorite genre of video game is probably. Oh man, it's really tough because I know. I like so many games from so many different genres that it's kind of hard to pinpoint them. But I think if I had to, I guess I'd have to give it to classic arena first-person shooters.
Ooh, the Unreal Tournament, Quake.
Unreal Tournament, Quake. Yeah. Just anything that was ever seriously called a Doom clone would probably be a game that I would like. And I've always really liked the very fast-paced, frenetic sort of. Just very Twitch shooting kind of game. I don't like saying first person shooter in general because that calls to mind modern military shooters and tactical shooters and but I don't like Call of Duty very much. Right. I don't like Arma. I don't like any games like that. The slower it is, the worse the less likely I am to like it. Okay. But I like games that are very fast paced, and one thing I didn't mention was that I prefer games that are fast paced and challenge your reaction times more than your ability to strategize on the fly. Okay. Which is why I don't really like RPGs. But I like fast-paced games.
Would Painkiller fall under that category?
Yeah, absolutely. Painkiller is a phenomenal game. I think my problem with Painkiller is the levels got too long at the end, and it felt like too much of a grind. It felt like you were constantly assaulted by really high level enemies, and it's like, well, okay. I mean, I played on the second hardest difficulty when I first played it, and that might have something to do with it. But I remember feeling toward the end like I was getting a little exhausted with it because it was like, okay, I'm dying a lot, and these levels don't seem to want to end. But yeah, I really love Painkiller. I love obviously Doom. I love Wolfenstein, though it's not that fast. Just any game that really challenges your reaction time and your ability to think on the fly, I tend to like. And I think that the old arena first-person shooters of the 90s kind of really really
Captain America.
That. Captain America. Steve Rogers the fuck out of that. And but otherwise, another good contender is probably Shmups. Just any vertical or horizontal classic arcade shooter where you're just in a ship. Shooting.
Nice. Toho.
Fucking love Toho. All fucking 20 of them. The fighting game.
I love those girls.
Oh, those waifus.
Those waifus.
Big crystal wings.
Yes.
I don't like Toho.
Yeah.
The more anime a shmup is, the less likely it is.
Is that why you like Nier Automata? Because the beginning was like a shmup?
Exactly. I was like, done. Bam.
Done.
I didn't even play the rest of the game.
2017 shmup.
Oh, man.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this first episode. Our episodes will range anywhere literally between like 30 minutes to like a little over an hour.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anywhere between there.
Yeah.
I think a good like a 40-minute long episode just to introduce us, just what we like. Gave a bunch of opinions on a bunch of different games just to really try to gauge how we feel and what we like.
Yeah.
And so I figured since one thing we didn't go over in this episode was our favorite genre, I figured that was a good way to end it. Just be like, what like broad category of games do they like the most?
Okay.
It's like, even though BioShock first-person shooter is my favorite, nothing beats fighting games. They're my favorite. Big on the esports scene for fighting games. I love watching Evo and Combo Breaker. I've attended a couple myself. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end.
All right.
So yeah, I had a great time. Did you have a great time?
I had a great time too.
I had a great time.
The coffee wasn't great, but
it was pretty garbage.
Yeah,
I hate this place.
It's awful. The atmosphere is crap. I haven't gotten refills since we've been here.
No, this is stupid.
This is dumb. We should just leave.
All right, yeah. All right,
we're done.